All right, we're finally back with another episode of Goal Horns and Fight Songs. Life kind of got in the way and distracted us a little bit there the last month or so.
Yeah, month, 2 months, somewhere in there.
I think we did one like about a month ago. Um, but it's fine. We'll get to them when we get to them. Um, like I said, life issues came up. But the NCHC wrapped up its season last weekend. We're getting ready for playoffs coming this weekend, so I think it's a good time to at least get back into one. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through um, playoffs and stuff um, with episodes. So, um, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with a recap of last weekend? You want to just jump right into playoff talk?
I think we could do a recap of last week and then a little bit about the season and what we've kind of noticed with our teams before we head into the first round of the playoffs, and then potentially the semifinals and finals, which I may go to since they're only about 20 minutes down the road from me. Um, so I think we can start with a recap of this of the regular season for each of our teams.
I think real quick though, congratulations to Denver and North Dakota on sharing the Penrose. Um, I think I had my order. Denver and North Dakota. I think I had them switched with St. Cloud and Duluth. I think I picked Western to finish, or at least had Western picked third to start the season, with an opportunity to move up or down. But they've stayed right at three. Um, North Dakota was kind of the surprise, with a pretty new team, being able to secure a part of host lifting the Penrose, and then Denver was kind of a question mark, and they came out really strong and had a really good season, especially at home in Magnus Arena. I think they only lost like what, two, maybe three games there all season. I think two, maybe.
They didn't lose many, and I think what the both UMD and St. Cloud surprised us both where they finished, especially having older, more experienced teams compared to the rest of the NCHC, especially North Dakota.
Yeah, and I mean they St. Cloud and Duluth went down to the final weekend to see who was going to get home ice in the playoffs, and ended up being a series between those two yet again. So we'll get games 5 and 6 for sure, potentially game 7 between those two teams.
Yeah, and it actually not even the final series, the final game, and even the final period potentially that of who's going to get home ice advantage. It was a bit of a stressful one.
That was honestly like a really good series. Friday night, I came back from the first Western game and flipped over to CBS Sports because it was on CBS Sports Friday night, and watched the rest of that game and watched it go into overtime yet again. And man, that was a great play by Roth to end that game on Friday night and at least potentially give his team a chance to get home ice.
Yeah, and three out of the four regular season matchups going to at least overtime, two of them going to the shootout. It sucks that they have to play each other.
I'm
And
honestly super stoked for that game. Honestly,
it,
um,
um, I know. I think it was. Well, now everything's screwed up with the 2020 year. I think it was probably 2018. They went into double overtime in the NCHC championship game. Um, and that was super fun to actually be at and witness. But these two teams, they're always going to battle back and forth. It's not a surprise that three out of the four have gone to overtime.
yeah, honest, I think it's like I almost would rather prefer these two teams meet in the first round like this, just because you're getting a 2 out of 3 series. I don't think one game's ever enough for either team to be happy to deciding a winner on. So even if they both, had they both made it. Either they were both home ice and they had just met in Minnesota. I think everybody would have been like, oh, what would have been one more game? What would have happened if they had a legit full series like they're gonna get? So I like, as much as it pains me to be like, we're knocking out a really good team in the first round, but we're probably gonna get a really good series that first round.
And I think they should both be the. We talked about this probably 2 weeks ago, just off the podcast. The top five is probably the strongest it's ever been. So if all of the top five teams don't make the NCAA tournament, one team is getting absolutely hosed. Um, so it's not the worst thing to get knocked out in the first round of the NCHC tournament, especially if it's a team like UMD or St. Cloud. It's you're gonna make the tournament, or you should make the tournament. You just lost to a team that you were even with.
You're right.
All year, and I think the top five should make the tournament. North Dakota through UMD.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely plausible. And then going into Western swept Miami, completed the season sweep of them. We won all 4 games against them this year. Senior night was Saturday night, and the seniors stepped up in a big way. I think all 3 goals were scored by seniors. I don't have my notes in front of me for the actual game. I took notes for the upcoming series, but I know 5 different Broncos scored on Saturday night or Friday night, and then 3 different Broncos scored on Friday night. I think goal 3 might have been scored by someone who wasn't a senior, but I know for sure that the first 2 goals, one was by Drew Warhead, I think, tipped a shot in front off Mikey Joyo's clapper from the blue line, and then Ethan Frank scored his NCAA leading 25th goal of the season to put the Broncos up 2-0 in the second period, and then in the third period we got one more. So, good stuff coming from the boys. Brandon Bussey got his 4th shutout of the season, which puts him in second for shutouts in a single season by a Bronco. He's tied there with former Bronco Riley Gill, who was around when I first got into Western hockey and in the early days of my fandom. So it's definitely been a record-setting year.
So what's it like not being shut out by Miami?
It's a pretty good feeling.
That's something that.
But then again, I mean, dude, Pearson is a great goalie, and honestly, like, some of the goals that we got past him, it was just we had the right stick in the right spot, or it took an exceptional play by an exceptional player. Speaking of Ethan's goal on Saturday, like, that was just a ridiculous wrist shot that as he cut across back the middle of the ice. So he's definitely a really good goalie, and it took us even a while to get to him on Friday night. Like I said, granted we did put up 5, but they were hard earned goals, and they were messy goals and stuff bags and picking up loose pucks. But he's an incredible goalie, and Miami's very lucky to have him.
And I think that's something that gets overlooked. He's not a finalist for the Mike Richter Award. He wasn't even really recognized for it. But the games that I've seen him play, he is one of the best goalies that I've seen. He just doesn't have the team in front of him to help him. He can only do so much. I mean, he was stopping 40, 50 shots against UMD. And I think it was game 2 up in Duluth. They lost in overtime, or maybe it was even a shootout, like 2-1 or 1-0 or something. He was absolutely phenomenal. He just doesn't have the team around him on a consistent basis, but he is, I think, by far the best pure goalie in the conference from what I've seen. He just doesn't have the talent around him to show off the talent, because I know we've talked about this when we're playing NHL and with a few of our other friends. As a goalie, no matter how good you are, you still have to have a good team around you to get the wins.
Oh, for sure. And like I think that's what led to honestly the 4 games that Bussy shut a team out. And I mean he had shutouts against Miami, I believe one against North Dakota, one against Ferris at the very beginning of the year, and I don't remember who the fourth one was against.
Oh, that's out.
It might have been Duluth.
I think,
I think it was either Duluth or St. Cloud. But either way, it was like those were also games where he had the best offense or the best team defense in front of him too. Like it's a correlation that he was able to stop the shots that he saw because the team in front of him is playing well, blocking other shots, or keeping the puck to the wide spots where the goalie has the best opportunity to see it coming at him. And things like that. Like I think those legitimately showed up across the board, and he was able to get the shutouts in those games.
Yeah, Miami, they only won 4 games, or well, 7 total, but the conference, those 4 games, he won them for that team. There's, and I only watched them when they played UMD. That's the only package that I bought. But just watching that one win that they got against us, he won that game. He made just unbelievable saves. I don't know if any team has drafted him or not, but if there is a team that did, they're getting one hell of a goalie. Otherwise, there's a team that needs to pick him up, because good gracious, is he makes all the stops and more. He's not just solid. He's very, very good.
St. Cloud was the fourth one, which was
Okay.
technically the second in the series, the season of 4, but he did get St. Cloud. St. Cloud. So, I mean, really good teams to get shutouts against. And while we're still on Pearson, he's only a sophomore. So, and the kid's good. I mean, his record does not speak to honestly how good he is. He's getting better, and I think Miami as a whole is getting better. They were not the same team at the end of the season that they were at the beginning of the season. They took the right steps this year. But they have a tough test in Denver going to Magnus Arena, where, like we said, Denver has been almost untouchable this season, and that just kind of shows like why you want home ice, especially in the playoffs. But like I said, Miami's playing well. Their last few games, they beat really good opponents. So I think it's going to be a hard-earned victory for Denver, but I see Denver sweeping that series and moving on to St. Paul. And then the next matchup after that is North Dakota and Colorado College. And Colorado's another team that they struggled all year. But they did also make some good steps and some steps in the right direction. And as much as every team in the NCHC is a good team on any given night, North Dakota is a tough draw at any point in the season, and especially in the playoffs going to that building too.
Yeah, and even if so, you brought up an interesting point with the home ice. Yes, you want to have it. I do think it's a little bit different though, in the first round of the playoffs, because of when spring break falls. I know we were just talking about this last week, and probably 6 years ago, I went up to St. Cloud, and Western was actually playing St. Cloud in the first round of the tournament. Went and watched a game on a Friday night, and I was like, where are all the students? It was spring break. So I think home ice plays a little bit less of a factor than it normally would with the student sections. But in these cases, like with Denver and Miami and North Dakota and CC, depending on when their spring break falls, they're just two good teams. And with North Dakota, that's the only thing there for, it's probably 4.5 hours from the Twin Cities, 3.5 hours from St. Cloud. Um, Bemidji State's the only other thing in the area, so they just draw a lot of fans no matter what, and they'll have that home ice advantage regardless. Like the Ralph is going to be packed.
Yeah, I mean the Ralph gets such big community support too. Like, it's not just their student section that shows up for those guys. So, um, yeah, Western's on spring break now. Potential for students to make it back. I hope they do, considering 3 separate donors made it possible for them to attend the playoff games free of charge for the students. So that the first time they did it was a couple years ago. Andy Murray put up, I think, for either 1 or 2 of the days, and then someone else matched him for the third day. But this year was a culmination of a local doctor in the area, the head football coach, and another anonymous donor to make sure that the student section could be packed and full of lost and lunatics. So hopefully a number of them will come back early from spring break and show up and show out.
Yeah, and then you also have the kids that just they can't go anywhere for spring break, or they're local kids and like, well, I'm just at home anyway. Let's go to a hockey game. I don't got to pay for it, so
Right.
So have a few pops before the game and have some fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. I always tried to make it back for that last series, whether it was the senior night series or it was the first weekend of playoffs. I always tried to be back and in the student section. I think, let's see, where were we? North Dakota, Colorado College. I lean towards North Dakota getting a sweep in that series too. I think just the way they've played all season shows that their ability to reload their team is incredible. Their coaching staff knows how to prepare after big transitional class like they had. They're playing well. They didn't win their last game of the season, but they're still they still won more than they lost at the end of the year. So they're always a dangerous team. And I don't know that Colorado has the firepower to compete with them over the course of an entire weekend.
Yeah, I don't think they do either. Well, in both series, but they're trying to remember back to our first preview, and I think they have a fairly young team. So even to not finish dead last in the conference, that's
I think we legitimately had a toss up between Miami and Colorado College for the last 2, and it was just astounding how unfortunate the season went for Miami, that it wasn't closer between those 2 teams like I think we thought it was going to be.
Well, I mean, they only ended up a point between each other.
Yeah, so
I thought Miami was going to finish in 7th, a little bit higher, have a little bit better of a year, but good on Colorado College, and hopefully that's a building block. And in this conference, they could potentially pull out a win in the playoff series. I mean, do I want them to actually sweep North Dakota? Absolutely. I think
I wouldn't mind it at all.
I think everybody in the conference, unless you're a fan of North Dakota, would love that. They are they're the ones to hate. And no offense to their fans, but everybody just loves to hate North Dakota.
They accept it. They understand it. They know.
Oh, and they play the heel very, very well.
Yeah.
But I just don't think if they get one, if CC gets one, they'll be lucky. I don't think they get one though. The first game Friday might be close. It might be like a 4-3 or a 3-2 game. Saturday night, I think it's going to be 5-1 or somewhere in that range. It's just not going to be close. North Dakota is going to be like, okay, boys, that was a little too close for us. Let's bear down, and show them what a real team looks like, and they'll do that. And credit to Coach Brad Berry for what he's done with that North Dakota team this year. It proves how good of a coach he actually is. I know when he first started, it was, oh well, this is the team that Hackstall built. Like he didn't have anything else when Dave went to the Flyers, and now is with the Kraken. But that was 5-6 years ago now, and he built this team. He lost half his team. He lost a goalie. Share the Penrose Cup again.
Three straight Penrose Cups.
Yeah, they have
with
a
at
real
least a share. So
yeah, so credit to that coaching staff with what they've been able to do with the kids they've brought in and the recruiting and everything. I think they roll over CC at least in one game, if not both.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough task for CC. But again, I wouldn't be mad if somehow CC played the Cinderella story and got through to Minneapolis. Wouldn't be mad about it at all.
I would maybe think
However,
about buying a CC jersey if that happened.
I will say this though, if the playoffs go the way that I think they'll go, and we haven't talked about the last two series yet, if they go the way I think they'll go, I'm looking forward to a huge rematch between UND and Duluth after that 5 OT thriller we had last year between those two teams.
I if that happens and it goes 5 OT again, it's been nice knowing you, because I don't think I can take it. I don't think my heart can take it.
Because we'll move on to the Western Nebraska series, Nebraska Omaha series, because it's the next on the list. And this is the one I did the most research for. The two teams met earlier this season. Western won the first one. Nebraska won the second one. I think it was 1-0. Very close game to end the first half of the season. Didn't play in the second half of the season, but there are two teams that have definitely played each other quite a bit. In fact, the senior class has played. They have played each other 16 times. And the reason I bring that up is because I went back and looked at the top two players from this year's team and how they stack up, and Ethan Frank being from Nebraska. They usually mention that he plays well against his local team, who didn't recruit him, and Western got him, and thank God we did. In the 16 times that they've played, he has 4 multi-point games, and he has 9 goals and 2 assists over the 5 years that he's been with Western Michigan and played against Nebraska. So really good numbers. He's going to be a guy that they're going to lean on. And then even just looking at this year, I was listening to the Western Michigan press conference today, and they brought up Tyler Ward, and who is the leading point getter for Nebraska Omaha this season. He has 38 total points, 18 goals, and 20 assists, which are stellar numbers. But I looked at it a little bit deeper, because at the beginning of the year, Tyler Ward was the player of the month for October, and just started the season like on fire. It was like him and Ethan were going goal for goal, and in October alone, Tyler Ward had 10 goals.
Wow.
The rest of the season, he had 8. So his ability to hit the back of the net on his own has gone down a little bit, but throughout the course of the season, he did pick up 20 assists. So he distributed the puck a little bit more. Maybe teams started clamping down on him, and taking away his shot, but opening up a shot for somebody else, because the top two lines for these two teams have incredible numbers. Both have multiple players over 30 points on the season. Both have, guys who had multiple point games throughout the season. Um, and they stack up pretty well. Western's top line on the season has 54 goals, 87 assists for a total of 141 points. And Nebraska's top line has 42 goals, 85 assists, and 127 total points. So I mean, they're both there. One, you can definitely see who they rely on to shoot the puck. Really, both of them you can see, but the scoring's a little bit more even as far as Nebraska goes. But Western has a slight advantage in all the categories there. And then also looking at like their overall records, like Nebraska's kind of this weird. They're in this weird place. Like they finished 6th in the conference, which I don't think is a bad spot for them to have finished. Considering they went 11-13 in the conference, and they went 10-2 in non-conference play. And so their overall record was 21-15, and Western's overall record was 22-10-1. So I mean, like if you looked at just their overall records, like these two teams seem super close. But there's I think you have to look deeper in to see what Omaha did and who they played and how they played. Because like they had 4 games against Alaska, they had a couple games against Long Island, who I know struggled this year. Maine, who I don't think had a very great year.
Yeah, their non-conference schedule wasn't it wasn't super tough. Whereas I know Westerns was tough, and it's as far as NCHC goes, Omaha played some cupcakes, and Maine unfortunately just kind of getting to non-conference stuff. Maine, unfortunately, they haven't had the years that they've had previously, especially in the early 2000s when I know they lost to Minnesota in the national championship game, and I think was it Ben Bishop went to Maine?
I know Jimmy Howard went to Maine. I'm not sure where Ben Bishop went, but I know Howard was a Black Bear. But yeah, even like just the conference schedules, UNO 11-13, Western 14-9-1. So that I think that shows where they finished a little more clearly, at least in the conference, why there was that big gap. Western being 3, Nebraska being 6. But Nebraska's again not a team to take lightly. I don't know that any team in the NCHC is a team that you can take lightly. In fact, my prediction for Western is a win, but it's going to go all 3 games. And I think it's going to be a team that wins. Either Western's going to sweep, or they're going to lose Friday and then win Saturday, Sunday. Is kind of how my gut feels about it. They're going to need to play the way they played Saturday against Miami. They're going to play the way they played when they shut out North Dakota here. It's going to need to be a team game. They're going to have to show up from the minute the puck drops until 60 minutes afterwards when the final horn goes off and we're singing the alma mater. It's going to take 2 full 60-minute efforts, not kind of taking a break in the middle or not showing up on day one and hoping that you're going to out-talent somebody at this point in the year. Like, to out-talent somebody at this point in the year, you either have to be someone who should be an NHL player or at least a pro player and for whatever reason is still here, or like, I don't know, or you've missed the entire year due to an injury and you've come back and no one knows what you look like. But we're at the point of the season where it's hard work, not talent, that's starting to win hockey games. And if you're not willing to work, you're going to be at home sooner or later.
And side note, Ben Bishop did go to Maine. I looked that up, but Omaha, they're a team that the past couple of years they've kind of felt like that team that can, as far as NHL goes, they can make the playoffs and maybe win around on a good year. Basically, the Minnesota Wild. That's who I'm going to compare them to. Um, you can make the playoffs, you might win a series, but you're not going to go all the way. Like you're not a super contender. And that's how Omaha feels to me is they're a good enough team where they could have finished as high as like 3 or 4, but they finished at 6, which kind of makes sense for them. They could steal the series against Western. They're not going to win the tournament, but they like you said, they're in that weird spot. Like they're just kind of on the edge of being a very, very good team and making the NCHC formidable 1 through 6 instead of 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Um, and
Which
I think,
I think is where they fill in last year too, and they were
yeah,
a bubble team that could have potentially made the tournament last year, and I don't think they did. I think Denver snuck in though.
they didn't make it last year, but they could be another team where, especially if they strengthen their non-conference, which I don't know what their non-conference looks like in the future, but if they strengthen their non-conference, that's also going to help new potential recruits coming in saying, okay, you know, we're playing in the best conference during the regular season in the nation, but who are we playing non-conference? Oh, we're not just playing Long Island, who's a fairly, I think they're only in like their second or third year as a program. We're not just playing Alaska,
Yeah.
these cupcake teams. We're going out and we're playing Michigan like you guys did. We're playing Mankato. We're playing, um, even Bemidji. They're not a bad team. Some of these more powerhouse. Yeah, we'll throw BC or BU on the schedule for the non-conference. If they do that, then it's going to make this conference even better, and they might even have to expand the tournament a little more because all of a sudden you have 6 of the best teams in the nation, um, and somebody's going to get snubbed
Yep.
with that large, and that's just the way that it is.
And here's their last four. Yeah, four. We'll go last four series. They get swept by Miami. They lose 4-5 and 2-4. They then sweep St. Cloud 5-2 and 5-1. St. Cloud was the number 8 team in the league, the country at the time.
Yeah.
They split with Denver, win 5-1, lose 5-2. Denver's number 3 at the time. Then they split with North Dakota, lose 5-4 in overtime, and win 4-1. So I mean, they have the potential to win games, but they're inconsistent in that at times. You know,
Yeah, getting swept by Miami, that's
and even the series before that is another split with North Dakota, but they lose 4-1 and then come back and win 3-2 in overtime. So they're competing with the top teams in the conference for sure, and getting wins. But then you overlook a Miami,
mm-hmm.
maybe, and they come in and Pearson's able to do his thing and steal a couple games. So it's time. It's the teams that are the most consistent that are going to start pulling away from everybody else, and I think we saw that this year. I think the most consistent teams are the teams at the top of the conference. Denver for sure, only losing like 1 or 2 games at home all year. North Dakota consistently consistent. That's how North Dakota plays. They know how to play their style of hockey, and they repeat it, and they do it year in and year out. They're consistently consistent.
And I don't think we swept a series, and like they're proven with the series. Um, yeah, the last time we swept a series was in November. UMD did not sweep a series the rest of the season after Fairbanks got swept a few times. Especially the Northern Michigan one hurt, which I don't know if let's see, because they were talking about Northern Michigan plays plays Mankato, but I don't know if it's the first round or not. Yes, semifinals. So they just finished
They
first.
already did their first round.
Yeah,
They do all site games. They don't have a neutral site.
yeah, especially in the um, first year of their existence.
Their rebirth.
Yeah, I shouldn't say first year of their existence. They're the first year as this one. Yeah, so Northern Michigan plays Mankato in the semifinals, and then it's Michigan Tech and Bemidji State. Um, and Mankato's going to get in the tournament. It's just
Oh yeah, they're still. I think aren't they still flirting with like a top seed, or have they fallen out of the top four?
they're probably going to be a top seed. Even if they were to lose, they'll be 33-6.
Yeah,
They're
they've been playing really good. Um, oh, and then so like I said, and then we have UMD and St. Cloud, two teams that have battled all year. I did get to watch. I think I watched 3 out of the 4 because they had the 2 Tuesdays games to make up for the lost series. I think
early in the year, yeah.
it was rescheduled. I think it was like that February 4th week, or it was like some weird week that they just canceled pretty much almost everybody because COVID had hit hard on a couple of things. And then I think they had to reschedule something else so that it was, I don't know, it was a weird thing. But both of those games were extremely good. Both went to shootouts. Each team picked up a win there. And then like I said, Friday night's game went to overtime yet again. Roth makes a great play to find himself some space and hit that turnaround shot, just throwing the puck on net. And I didn't watch Saturday's game, but I do know that St. Cloud got the shutout, picked up home ice, and I'm honestly going to be interested to see how that one goes. My prediction for that one is that UMD wins games 1 and 3. I think it goes all 3. I think they come out a little bit fired up after losing home ice. And they want to come back and answer and show that it wasn't necessarily a fluke. It was just wasn't their best game, and they still have good hockey to play. So, but I think St. Cloud responds back on Saturday, and then Duluth decides they don't want to go home yet, and they take it on Sunday.
Yeah, and I might have to pop up to St. Cloud and go to at least Friday night's game, and if it goes 3, go to Saturday's game as well. No, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I might, I might go to all 3 games, because it's only an hour drive. I'm gonna text my brother, see what he's doing.
Yep, that's how weekends work.
Well, I'm just thinking. I'm like, oh yeah, they're playing St. Oh, wait a minute. It's only an hour drive. I can get a hotel or just drive back and forth if I really want to. That just registered in my brain. I don't know why. But
maybe it's the sleep finally wearing off. Since you took a nap and we're 20 minutes late to this thing today.
Yeah. That nap. But that series, it should be really. I mean, it's the best matchup out of all of these. I did not watch Friday's game because of it being on CBS. I do not have that channel. I tried to pull it up on NCHC TV, and I didn't realize it was on CBS, and I was like, oh, well, I guess we can't watch it. I did watch Saturday's game, and it was a horrible showing by UMD. I think it ended up 2-0. It should have been way worse than that with how we played. But with how the rest of the season went, with 3 overtime games, 2 of them going to the shootout, I wouldn't be surprised if it went 3. And I do think UMD is going to come out. I think we're going to come out real hot on Friday night, just because I was talking to my parents, and my mom said, "Oh, they had UMD's coach on TV," and you could just tell by his tone of voice he was not happy. And I'm like, I can imagine not. You have a chance to get home ice, and you just lay a goose egg like you did. Probably not going to be happy. So, and they're one of the best postseason teams in recent history. It doesn't matter if it's conference tournament or NCAA tournament. They've, what is it now? 4 NCAA or 3 NCAA tournaments in a row, not counting the COVID. No, 4 in a row, and it would have been 5 if you put the COVID year in there. NCAA and it was
your senior class is still
mm-hmm.
the one that won. I mean, if you had guys come back for their 5th year, that's still a team that won back-to-back. There's players on that team that won back-to-back national titles,
right?
And potentially would have and could have and should have won a 3rd had they played when COVID first hit.
That I will debate that with anyone. That should have been a 3-peat team. They were that damn good.
Oh, they were so good that year.
And yeah, they're guys that they've been there before. And actually, our leading goal scorer is only a sophomore, Blake Biondi. He's got 15. So we're leaning on him, but we have that experience. They know what to do come tournament time. And I think once you get into those eliminator games, then it's the experience is going to show up. I don't think it'll show up in game 1 and 2. It's going to feel more like a series, even though they have to be careful, because
they have to control their emotion. They can't let it get too big. Even though like the 4 games between them in the regular season were damn near playoff games because of how bad each team wanted home ice. It wasn't one of those, you know how you watch a game and you're like, oh, neither team wants to lose. That was not the feeling you got watching these 2 teams play. It was both teams want to win. It was one team was down, and it was, how do we get the next goal to tie this back up? How do we win the next shift to put ourselves in a position to win this game? And they did that consistently all 4 games. Well, 3 out of the 4 that I definitely watched.
Yeah, 3 out of 4. I
think it was just an off night on the 4th game, and St. Cloud was able to take advantage and got home ice. So, keeping that in check, I think you have to lean on your more experienced players to be like, okay, we know how to handle this. We know how to get through this. Mm-hmm. We're still not in a one-and-done situation, so it's not full press just yet, but know that we want to keep moving on, so we do have to win games.
You can't do and I'm just going to pick on him because it was I didn't see it, you did, but because I didn't realize it was an earlier start, but the Louis Rail incident where he grabbed the St. Cloud player's face mask and was like throwing him around. You can't do that.
No.
In playoff hockey, you can't put your team down on the PK, let alone getting kicked out of the damn game yourself. Mm-hmm. An older player, an experienced player, you can't do that. So that's what I think St. Cloud might try to capitalize on is the emotions. They haven't struck me as a team. They're going to be feisty, but they know where to draw the line. And Brett Larson is a great coach as well, stepping in for Motzko once he left. But he's also off the Scott Sandlin tree. He was an assistant here, and then he went to St. Cloud. They're going to play disciplined hockey. They're going to get under your skin, and you just have to know at this point, let them be the idiots.
Yep. And and they'll definitely do it from time to time. When they were here, Western did a really good job of not reacting. Uh, not responding when they started getting a little bit chippier, and it resulted in who's their defenseman, number 26.
Perfect.
No, the other one. It also starts with a P, or is it a B?
I will tell you in a minute.
I think he was injured one of the games against you guys. He's the one that your Rail pulled his face mask.
I shouldn't laugh, but I mean that still is kind of funny to me.
That's the player I'm talking about. I can't remember his name though. Brodzinski? Maybe it's Brodzinski.
Oh, it could be Brodzinski. Forward.
Nope, definitely not. I don't think it was a forward. I know he was either a captain or an alternate captain. But either way, like he got to a point where he was starting to get agitated, and he took a really dumb penalty. I think like in the third period of that game, and it was for I think it was delay of game. And
Brodzinski, he is a forward, 26.
It might have been. Actually, I can just look it up because I can just look at the games and see who had that penalty that I'm thinking about. But either way, the penalty was just something stupid. It was him firing the puck back down the ice after a like icing call or an offside call, and the linesman had just had enough, and they were like, "Well, you're going to the box for two." And you could just tell that it was an aggravation penalty because Western was up pretty big at that point, and they weren't necessarily able to do what they wanted to do. It was Easton Brodzinski. Unsportsmanlike conduct, 2 minutes. So, I mean, it just shows, like, both teams are definitely capable of doing something stupid. In fact, they had a couple big penalties that game. And they had a couple delay of games. They took a high-sticking major early in the game. That was the game that Bussy was out for about 10 minutes. Because he was the one who caught the high stick, and it somehow lacerated like his chin or his eye or something.
Oh yeah,
and he was out for 10 minutes. But yeah, so I mean, like, I think things are gonna happen. The game's gonna go the way they go, but it's a matter of how well you can let the other team get agitated and not get sucked in. Because they'll always get the second guy. They'll always get the reactor. They won't always get the instigator, but they'll get the guy who responds.
About 95% of the time. I actually saw one where they didn't get the guy that responded.
Louis Rail. He was not the guy who responded.
Well,
and Brodzinski was able to keep his calm and just be like, "Why are you grabbing my face mask, bro?"
And in a wild game the other day, I don't even remember who. I think it was Eriksson Ek. Just shoved a guy and then ate a jab, and they took Eriksson Ek, and stupid Wes McCauley. I love the guy, but he's just like, nope, you're going to the box. He didn't even give the guy the retaliation penalty. I'm like, dang it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. UND's a 2 seed.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't get potentially your rematch with them until the finals.
It would be the championship game.
Yeah, because Western would play if the teams, if we have it the way we have it, with UMD being the only lower seeded team to make it through, they would play Denver, and Western would play North Dakota.
The unfortunate part, though, again, is looking bigger picture as far as the NCAA tournament goes. I don't quite know what the committee will do with at-large bids. Obviously, we both have a bias and think that 5 NCHC teams should get in, but that's the conference we also watch the most. I do have a feeling that this UMD St. Cloud series, whoever loses it, could get snubbed in making the tournament, because I think there is that East Coast bias that the committee has. So Hockey East will probably get maybe one more team than they should. But that's my opinion.
look at the pairwise right now. See what it's at. Okay, so in the pairwise, currently as it sits, it's top 16 teams, right? So the top 16 are, in order, Minnesota State, Michigan, Denver, Minnesota, Western Michigan, North Dakota, St. Cloud, Quinnipiac, Notre Dame, Michigan Tech, Minnesota Duluth, Massachusetts, UMass Lowell, Northeastern, Ohio State, and Boston University. Ohio State lost to... No. Did they lose? No, I think they're still in. Penn State beat Wisconsin to move on.
Good for Penn State.
So there's currently one,
that makes me happy.
two,
just I hate Wisconsin in general.
3, 4. There's currently 4 Big Ten teams. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right. I think the Big Ten's probably going to get one, and they deserve to.
5 NCHC teams. And then I think a couple CCHA teams in there. But you have to think, what is it? How many conferences are there? 5, 6?
There's ACHA or Atlantic Hockey, CCHA, NCHC,
Big Ten, Hockey East,
and then the ECAC, and then a couple independents. So 6 conferences, and then
okay, so you have 6. You have 6 conference winners. They get the automatic bids.
Mm-hmm. So that leaves 10
at large bids, and it should be essentially, you would think it'd be the 10 highest rated teams, unless they're the ones who won their conference. So say Minnesota State wins, that would put let's just say for shits and giggles, Minnesota State wins the CCHA. Michigan wins the Big Ten. Please God, no. Denver wins the NCHC. I mean, that is your top 3 teams right there.
Yeah, we'll just go with those.
So you already know that you're going to have to bring in so that would be...
Well, and then we could do just like BC wins the Hockey East.
Yeah. So you have 10 teams. Let's just say, well, I'm trying to figure out how we rank them, but it's not going to work out. My brain won't do it. They're going to make it, and then the next 10... Actually, let's say the top 10 don't win their conference. Somebody else outside of the top 10... Minnesota Duluth wins the NCHC. Massachusetts wins whatever conference they're in.
Which Massachusetts?
Huh?
Because I think Lowell and UMass are in different conferences, I think.
Yeah, so let's just assume both of them win their conference.
Okay.
Ohio State wins its conference, and somebody wins the...
Air Force. Air Force wins Atlantic Hockey.
Yep. So then the top 10 teams would be Minnesota, Michigan, Denver, Minnesota State, Western Michigan, North Dakota, St. Cloud, Quinnipiac, Notre Dame. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Michigan Tech. That makes sense. That you would have those 10 teams as at-large bids. That's how it should be.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Now, if those teams win their conferences, then Western gets the at-large bid for that Denver would have used, but since they're the conference champion, they don't need the at-large bid. Minnesota would take the at-large bid that Michigan would have, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it just goes down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then, the 6 teams from that conference, then you go down to, instead of through 16, well, I mean, I guess you go through 16 anyway, but whatever is the next 10 teams. So you go down whoever the top 16 teams are.
Yeah.
Top 10 without, who haven't won the conference.
Exactly. I mean, that makes the most sense. I mean, otherwise, what's the point of having, a pairwise and RPI, like any of these
Mhm.
things that are meant to determine the teams that make the brackets in the playoffs?
Right. Well, and to me, even with the basketball tournament, I don't understand why there's a committee. Um, you have all these things in place. Why do you need Condoleezza Rice to say, oh, they need to make the playoffs or whatever? I think she's on the football one, but it's just like an example. Like you have this committee to determine the at-large bids. It's like, then why are you doing all this extra work? Like
Yeah.
you're paying somebody to do something that doesn't matter. And I'm sure they probably don't appreciate it as well.
Right.
I mean, they probably appreciate the money, but it's like, I'm doing something that nobody cares about.
Yeah. So I mean, that just makes the most sense. Either way, I think that this postseason is going to be interesting. It's going to be good. I can't wait to see how it shakes out, and hopefully both of our teams make it through. At least to the next round, and then we'll see. We'll talk about the next round when it gets here.
Yeah, I hope both our teams make it through, and then I can actually go watch those games as well. I might not be able to watch UMD. Well, I don't think we've been the 4th seed in this tournament, so we might actually get the evening game if we win this round. So I might be able to go both Friday and Saturday to the semis and the finals if they were to win in the semis.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the bracket has the times. I know they're on CBS Sports.
I know it has the times, but I don't think they've ever said when each team is playing.
I'm pretty sure if I remember right, it's usually the 1 seed gets the later game for whatever reason.
Which is they want to
Which
show.
would be
Which,
Denver and
that'd be.
UMD, provided that's the outcome.
Mm-hmm. And the nice part, if you go to that tournament, is a few years ago when I went and because they actually the first couple of years they had the tournament at the Target Center, which that was weird to see a basketball arena set up as a hockey rink. I didn't know what to do. I was very, very confused. Um, but you can go sit in the club level for actually a little bit cheaper than you can sit in the lower level because it's upper deck pricing. So I'm like,
right.
club level? Yeah, I'll do this. I know I don't get all the perks, but yep, I'll take care of that.
I know I saw it somewhere. Oh, well, I'll look for it later. Actually, is it here?
I still might go either way, just to watch some good hockey. Why and especially if Western makes it, um, might go into the evening session on a week from Friday, but probably you'll still go to the championship game because I think it's only like $25 a ticket or something.
Not
And
bad at all.
love to go watch that. It's been since December since I've been to a game when we beat Denver. It was 5-2. So would love to go see a game and see somebody win the conference championship.
Yeah, they're not doing third place games anymore or consolation games anymore.
Yeah, they didn't a few years ago when I went. It was just St. Cloud and UMD. I think that was probably 2018.
I think they just started that. I think this is like the second year they started that. I know it hasn't been very long that they've
Maybe
been
it was
doing
2019. It was 2018 or 2019.
But either way,
that I know they didn't have it. So it's not that long ago. It's for 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
that they haven't, because I know they were doing it at the Target Center, because I went and um, UMD was playing in the championship game, but North Dakota was playing somebody, and of course the North Dakota fans were being obnoxious. I'm like, you're playing for a third.
Right.
Like, don't. Why are you chirping me? My team is in the championship game. You can't chirp when you're playing for third.
No. Uh, yeah. So it should be a good weekend of hockey. And I think we'll try and recap this weekend's games next week. We'll see how life works out. Make no promises. Um,
Yeah, especially I think because we're both planning. I am now planning on going up and just spending the weekend in St. Cloud, whether I'm by myself or with some friends. I'm gonna go watch the games.
I'm gonna go to this weekend's games. I think I have something going on next week. I think can't remember what it is, but either way, I'll watch the semifinals and finals on something, my phone, laptop, whatever. I'll figure it out, and we can talk about those when that time comes. We'll try and get through the rest of the year, coming up to an end here soon. Unfortunately, college hockey season is my favorite time of the year.
Yeah, it just sucks that it's so much shorter than it should be.
Right.
But
But
I guess they have to do schoolwork and stuff too.
and it'll be interesting to see, because we're also getting to a point where we're going to start seeing a lot of guys transition to the next level as seasons come to an end.
Mm-hmm. Especially with our two teams.
Yeah. I just meant like across the board. As
Yeah.
teams start getting eliminated, you're going to see guys start going to the next level, whether it's the AHL, NHL, ECHL,
Overseas.
Europe.
Yeah.
So things like that. So it's not like we're getting to a point where hockey's not interesting anymore, but it won't be games. So, hopefully Western can put together a nice little run here. We're 8 games away. It takes 8 games to win a national title from this point on. So maybe the Octopus can spread some luck to
one goal.
No,
wait,
no.
Chicago.
Yeah, we're not Chicago. Who can have one goal? North Dakota. They can score one goal in the whole playoff run, and that'll be just fine.
Yep.
Be
okay with that?
Yeah. I think Western just needs some of that octopus luck that Detroit had back in the day when they only needed 8 wins to win the big one. So, but that's where we're at in the season. I think we covered everything we wanted to. Talked about all the stuff we wanted to. Good luck to your team.
Good luck to yours as well.
Maybe they can get behind Stay Skull coming back and at least being a presence on the bench. He fought hard to get back this season, so maybe they use that as a rallying point and make some noise against St. Cloud. But good luck to all the student athletes who are playing in all the games. Maybe a little less luck to North Dakota.
Yeah, we don't care about them.
But hope nobody gets hurt, everybody stays safe, and we get some really good games. I think all you can ask for as a fan.
Yep, just good games and make sure everybody's okay. No matter what team you root for, you just don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right, and good luck to the other conferences that are in there somewhere along the ways in their playoff run, as it's been a little bit scattered here as to who's playing when. So
it's a fun time of year, whether you're playing or not.
Right, and just trying to keep up with who's playing when and where.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll do it for this episode of Goal Horns and Fight Songs. This episode should be on YouTube at some point, so if you see it there and you want to hit like or subscribe, cool. Thanks, we appreciate it. You can always hit us up on Twitter. Those links will be in the description of the YouTube page because I don't feel like trying to remember how to say them or spell them. I was eliminated in the first round at the spelling bee for a reason, okay, Michael? I'm not good at spelling.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
It's rude and uncalled for. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break here on Twitch and probably swing over to maybe do some NHL. So if you want to hang out and stay through that transition, cool. If not, completely understand and appreciate anybody who hung out in the streamland. Do know that if you feel so urged to in the future, and if you come back and hang out with us for another episode, and you want to participate, just chat along in the chat. We'll look at it and get to it if we can. If there's a pressing issue or question that you have. Otherwise, you can leave a message on YouTube, on our Twitters, which have been on the screen the whole time. Mine's kind of cut off. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm at Painted Bronco. Mike's has been in full glory because he gets top billing, even though he does nothing for this and just shows up 20 minutes late after a nap. So,
hey, I contributed. And even if the question is not pressing that you have, we still probably will answer it. We will take any hockey questions because it's fun.
Yes. And there's times where we need stuff to talk about. So,
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Adios.